Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Pixy versus Shaun in the semi-final of the second Steel Division 2 Championship. Today they are playing on Slutsk, and on our left in the red team playing on the Allied side, we have Pixy using the 3rd US Armoured and the Maverick deployment type. And on our right, in the blue team playing on the Axis side, we have Shaun using the 20th Panzer and the balanced deployment type. I'm very surprised to see the 20th brought in using balance, but Shaun's MO is certainly using balanced deployment type. I'm just very concerned that the 20th doesn't really suit it very well. It doesn't have much power in the late game to really push back against a deck such as the 3rd US. The biggest thing that it can bring in is the Stalin, which is an IS-2, a captured IS-2, but that's going to still have trouble penetrating things like jumbos. So that's an issue. The 20th does have access to the Ju-87D3, which is the cluster bomber, to take out heavily armoured targets, and it also has access to Werflammens with the big Nebelwerfer 42s like on the side of them. So it could use those to kill jumbos as well, but against a good player like Pixy, it's unlikely we're going to see that allowed to happen, as simply like a fast move up a road or something can be used to dodge those kinds of rocket strikes. Regardless, 3rd US very strong, does have a lot of good armor potential, but lacks in the infantry department. I think the 20th also kind of lacks in the infantry department as well, but maybe not so much because it does have a card of Ersatztruppen, I believe, as well as Panzer Grenadiers, which are pretty good when you upvet them. So yeah, I think the Panzergrens will win out against the 3rd US infantry, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look at what's going down. So on the left-hand side here, we do see the heavy flamethrowers coming out from Pixy at the start, a couple armoured rifles in the M3 half-tracks and an M4A1. Further down, we see the heavy flamethrowers, an M8 and an M4A1. So going for, looks like Shermans across the board at the start. A couple armoured rifles at the back there, M1 gun in front. 2 more armoured rifles, M4A1, and then there's going to be the 30 cows, as well as a couple of armoured rifles and M3s, so that's 6 in total on this road, with a command M8 there, which is going to be providing command to those units. That's an interesting setup from Pixy so far. Nothing deployed on this bottom road, so might just be using this one to kind of cut down and push fast into this objective, because then that will give him cover for the entirety of the bottom side. On the side of Shaun, yeah, we do see the Ersatztruppen coming out at the start. There's also a Commandant there. There's going to be IG-18 Batterieführer. So using the Batterieführer as his command infantry in Phase A for these Ersatztruppen and Panzer Grenadiers with Panzerfaust. Further down, we see Ersatztruppen, Pack 40, IG-18, 2 Pack 40s actually, Panzergrens there, and the Panzer III. Panzer III definitely going to suffer against the Germans. I'm surprised to be seeing that brought in. I would more have liked to have seen like 2-star Panzer IVs at the start. I think they would have been really strong actually for taking out the Shermans with the longer range engagements, because Panzer IVs are really good at acting like snipers, and they have the 135mm of penetration, which allows them to get through the frontal armor of a Sherman quite well, whilst the Sherman kind of bounces off Panzer IVs at range. Because it's like 90mm against like 70mm of frontal armor or 60mm of frontal armor, something like that. So the armor differential between penetration and armor is different, or it's like more for a Panzer IV against an M4 than it is for an M4 against a Panzer IV, if you get my drift. Anyway, on the top side, you can see those orders coming through. Yeah, big old push coming in on this bottom area for Pixy. Now, one thing that I haven't actually touched on too much just yet is the Maverick deployment type. Very interesting to see from Pixy. It's not something that's used very much in competitive play, because a lot of people believe Flatline and Vanguard to be better just all around than Maverick. Maverick across a 30-minute game has the least amount of income. So people tend to like not favor it. But if it's played well and you time it right, it can have a hell of a punch moving into Phase B, especially if you do well in the early game. Now the heavy flamethrower has managed to get on top of the Batterieführer there. Another heavy flamethrower just driving straight through Nothing too much happening on the bottom side just yet. That heavy flamethrower did die very quickly. The other heavy flamethrower on the top sides moved all the way through. The armoured rifles have moved into position. They're going to be doing a lot of damage to Panzergrens before they get into cover. But these are 3-star Panzergrens. The Panzervernichtungen will be able to clean up the second half track. If that wasn't the Panzergrens and Panzerfaust there. I don't think it was. No, it's the Panzervernichtungs. Actually, it could have also been the grenades from the Panzergrens as well. Regardless, that infantry engagement looks like it's going to fall in favour of Shaun. On the top side, the heavy flamethrower did manage to get on top of that IG briefly, I think. And then the M4A1 finished it off. Big old push coming in across the ridge here. Armoured rifles moving all the way up. The 30 cals, they are engaging from a distance against these Ersatztruppen, which is helping the armoured rifles get some damage in. These armoured rifles plus the half tracks might be able to get the better of the Panzergrens and also then kill off the Pak 40. That would be really, really nice. Surprised that he's unloaded these 2 armoured rifles behind the ones in front. That might have just been a precautionary measure. The Panzergrens getting a nice amount of damage there before the armoured rifles got into cover, but we'll probably get overwhelmed by sheer numbers. These 2 Ersatztruppen forced back with the help of those machine guns plus the armoured rifles, so that is going to give that flag on the bottom side to Pixy and give him a slight salient here, which will get even bigger if he ends up killing off the Panzergrens. Shaun has managed to clean up the top side. The 2 armoured rifles that were brought in here with half tracks were killed off very, very quickly. The Panzergrens just demolishing them, and the Panzerfaust managing to kill both of the half tracks. There might have also been shots coming in from this AT gun down here onto the hill as well. Shaun's got a really dominating position in the topside town, whilst Pixie's looking for the high ground on the bottom side. Panzer 3 looking for the long-range engagements against an M4A1. Probably wants to go for a close range engagement just because that's where the APCR really shines. The Panzergrens up here, they do manage to hide eventually after getting pinned down. They were taking a lot of damage from the M4A1. The M4A1s are great because they have HE and 3 machine guns, which is a lot better than the normal T-34s, for example, that you can get on the Soviet side with 2 machine guns. We're also seeing P-47 coming in for the strafing run straight onto the Commandant. Looks like the flamethrower there spotted that with the high ground. And yeah, the P-47 trying its luck, that's for sure. Well, this M1 gun is in a beautiful position from the start of the game. That is prime sniping position onto transports. Can it turn and shoot in time? Guess we'll find out. That's 1 down. These are Panzergrens with Panzerfaust as well. Shaun doesn't want to lose both of these, and he does. That's going to make the bottom side so damn weak. P-47 still strafing, trying to help this heavy flamethrower get the better of the Ersatztruppen, and so far, nice micro from Pixy has really done work on this top side. Very nicely done. Now we're seeing the armoured rifles with the BARs coming in to solidify Pixie's position here, because he is losing ground quite quickly to Shaun's push. The ME-109 G2R1 was brought in to kill off the heavy flamethrower. Wow. Shaun investing in like a 100-point aircraft to kill off that flamethrower is quite something, and honestly the P-47 might even shoot that down. That was really, really risky. It depends if it can get in range. It's very close. Very close indeed. Nope, not going to get it. ME-109 gets away just fast enough to prevent that. So, armoured rifles get on top of the 45mm, that's going to get taken out. M4A1's going to try and engage the Pak 40, but that is not something that he's going to want to continue to do. The P-47 will be able to get a strafing run in there. That's not in cover, so it takes a lot of damage. Now the M4A1 can continue to shoot at the Pak 40 until Shaun pushes that into cover. The Flammenwerfers here, the double Flammenwerfer should be able to kill off the armoured rifles. Looks like Shaun's throwing down some smoke so that he can dictate the range of that engagement. Obviously wants to engage at the 100 meters so that he can force the armoured rifles to run around all over the place and then continuously kill them off with the Flammenwerfer. Wants to probably get the second Flammenwerfer involved though. P-47 continues to strafe the Pak 40 on the bottom side. It's not dead yet though. Only 1 Flammenwerfer still engaging, does end up dying. Now the Panzervernichtung is going to be coming up to help out. A little bit delayed there from Shaun, obviously didn't see that happening. Does manage to take care of the armoured rifles though. Half tracks now pushing forwards. No AT gun in sight that's not pinned down. Second one has been brought in though from Shaun. That's going to be looking to clean up the half tracks. This other half track though Oh, it's good that it hit that one first, because if that had got out of line of sight, it could have certainly pushed up onto this objective very, very far. And the IG would have struggled to kill it, because it probably could have hidden the back garden. The flak 20mm coming in with the SDKZ11 flak. That combination is quite nice, just for stopping strafing on that bottom side. IG-18 being strafed now on the top side though. The P-47 getting a lot of use so far. M4A1 about to get popped by the Pak-40 if it continues that engagement at range. The AP shells really do a number on those kinds of tanks, unless it just keeps missing. I think it might have bounced that shot actually. It's only 2 health left. Is the M4A1 going to get the better of a Pak-40? If it does, that'll be due to the Pak-40 just not being in cover. Oh, well, the Thunderbolt finishes it off. This Pak-40 also not in cover, technically. Next to cover, not in it. Does manage to clean up that M4A1. Damn. That was unlucky, losing the Pak-40 like that. Armoured LMG rifles on the bottom side are going to help finish off the last Ersatztruppen down there. We do see the ME-109 coming in for the bombing strike onto the armoured rifles. We've got a Ju-87 looking for a kill onto the M4A1 in the centre. Pixie's position on this bottom side is very, very good right now. With the AT gun up on this hill, makes it very difficult for Shaun to push up with transports. And has already lost one of the Pak-40s down here. Won't have many tanks that can support a strong push across the open. So we'll have to wait and rely probably on some artillery before he can kind of break down the defense that Pixie's going to have here. And all the while, Pixie's going to be holding on to those flags. So really, really strong position from Pixie. I really like the concentration onto the high ground here, because this position for an AT gun is just so damn good. And there isn't much Shaun can do about it until he gets a Verflammen in Phase B or Phase C even. It depends if he's got them there. And the ME-109 G2R1 looking to go for the kill onto the P-47. Looks like Shaun might have just pulled away from that, maybe on purpose, so that he can go round for a strike. But honestly, head on, the P-47 should win, because that's a G2R1. It only has 120mm, whilst the P-47 has 8 50 cals. So yeah, I think the 50 cals would certainly win out. Okay, the P-47 didn't actually fire that time around though. P-47's going to get out. That's more than fast enough to get away from an ME-109 G2R1. Okay, so Pixie kind of just being relatively chill here. He's had these infantry sat out in the open for quite a while, hasn't even put them into position. Definitely concentrating hard on the bottom to make sure he can maintain his hold here. IG-18 is still alive on the hill though. That's going to be going for the HE shells onto the half track. Does manage to take it out. Panzer Vernichtung's in a really nice position for Shaun up on the hill. If he can get an AT gun up here, he could do exactly the same thing to Pixie that Pixie is doing to him with this AT gun on the bottom side. I'd love to see a mortar right now. Like, mortar on this bottom side would be ideal. The IG-18 is also a good shout, obviously, because it can kill out an AT gun, but the AT gun needs to be spotted for that IG to work. I guess you could fire position it technically, but it wouldn't be too effective because the M1 gun can just move back. But mortar strike, a couple direct hits would get the job done. It's really interesting to see these 30 cals being used. I'm not a huge fan of the 30 cals, but Pixie's managing to pin down these Ersatztruppen quite quickly with those, and supporting from a distance on this bottom side really worked out well for those 30 cals. Looks like also the SDKZ11 flak's going to be in support on this bottom side. If you can get it into cover, into one of these back gardens, you can probably utilize it from outside the range of the armored LMG rifles. These guys have 30 cals at 750 meter range that they can use. If the SDKZ11 flak can shoot them from 1000 meters without being hit by the 750 meter range of the MGs, then it would be really, really good support. The Ju-87 looking for the strike onto the M4A1. There's no AA on this bottom side, so the Ju-87 is going to freely be able to take that out. Does lose line of sight though. Never mind, looks like Shaun actually purposefully changed target because he thought the Pak-40 maybe would have got the kill, but it didn't. And now the P-47 coming in for the run onto the Ju-87. It's too fast for its own good. Ju-87, can it get the cluster bombs off? It does, but doesn't get the kill. Both is going to force that back. Ju-87 probably going to get out alive. M4A1 now pushing on this top side, sorry, has killed off the IG-18 up there. Ju-87 actually ended up going down to the Bofors regardless. Right, Panzergrens, they're killing off the armored LMG rifles. These may have 2 MGs, but it's not 2 MG42s. So the Panzergrens will win at range. Nice strafing run from the P47 does kill off the Pak 40, but now the ME109 looking for the kill there. Looks like Pixy is microing that. You can see him continuously giving the orders, if I hold shift, to that aircraft to get it out of there. Microed it into position where he'll likely just tell it to evac. Unless he maybe wants to strafe something on the top side. Potential for that as well. Off map actually being used to clean out 1 unit of Flammenwerfer. Interesting. The armored LMG rifles haven't even really come up against anything just yet. Pixy is holding a 15-9 though, as he does manage to move this M4A1 enough forwards to capture this flag. So he's holding this offensive flag on the bottom side, this flag, and obviously these 2 flags. That's the offensive flags that he's taken, which is giving him the 4 bonus, making it 15-9. And this is the defensive flag he's holding on to, which Shaun had previously but has lost since. The MG now engaging the Panzer Grenadiers, the flak coming in to support. I really do like Shaun's play here. A lot of players would probably hold like the 20 mils back to make sure that they have cover for AA. But when you push forwards AA like this, things like flak fillings, they can be so damn effective at cleaning up infantry and also light vehicles in this case. The M3 half-track will eventually go down to the HE damage that the flak is putting out. Oh, we see the Boiler Stalin coming in. Didn't actually expect to see that in a 1v1 so much. But it looks like Shaun's saved up enough to bring it in, and is going to be trying to deal with the M4A1. The Jumbo, however, he can't penetrate it. He won't be able to penetrate this very easily at all, unless he can get closer. So Pixy can just sit there all day, trading with the Stalin, using up its ammunition, and that really won't be terribly effective. The P47 forced to fall back. The ME109, it barely has any health. No, it's going to be told to evac by Shaun. Doesn't want to get that pulled over AA and shot down unnecessarily. Engineers have been brought in on the bottom side. These are 2-star engineers. Clean up that Ersatztruppen very easily indeed. These 2 are gonna, well, this one's gonna unload next to the flak. Honestly, if they started firing at the flak, it should be able to kill it. Actually, no, never mind. This flak has 10 armor, doesn't it? Yeah. So it can't be killed by light arms fire, which is what makes it even better. So I wouldn't even have to have worried about the 750 meter MG. That's really good. Yeah. Nice use of that flak vehicle. Boyd Stalin, yeah, it's already getting low on ammunition as it runs out of Dushka ammo. As that's open here, and Panzergrens trying to push forwards a little bit, just take back that flag, but still 15-9 for Pixy, as he has managed to move forwards his armoured rifles and capture the flag in the open. It won't be for too long, as the Pak 40 will kill off those armoured rifles, and it looks like the SDKZ-11 flag has killed off the engineers, but that flak's now gone down to the Jumbo and M4A176 arriving on the bottom side. And these Jumbos, I said it at the start, they're going to be probably one of the hardest things for Shaun to break down. He's got to use Ju-87s, which have already kind of been countered by the Bofors and the P47, or Verflammens. And he doesn't really have Verflammens by the looks of things. He hasn't brought one in yet. He's instead opting for 88s and the Boiler Stalin so far. That's the only things that I can see that could potentially kill a Jumbo, and that would be side armor shots still. And it would have to be like from an ambushing position in order to find those, which is going to be very difficult since this is like an open field engagement. Well, he does have the Pak 43s, of course. Those Pak 43s could do the job. But even so, a Pak 43 doesn't have considerable penetration chance against the Jumbo. I think it's about 10-20% at max range, so Jumbos will have time to back off. Also, the bad thing about Pak 43s, of course, is that they're pretty immobile, so very easy to kill off with artillery and also airstrikes. Good to see that firing away there at the LMG rifles as they try and push across the open. Does have some decent HE damage, that's for sure. Jumbo pushing up hard, M4A3 75 coming in. This is a 2-star veterancy M4A3 with an M4A 176 to back things up. The 76s are really nice because they can snapshot very well, they have a really fast aim time, and they clean up Panzer IVs very, very well. Honestly, a Jumbo will clean up Panzer IVs. And look at this, the Jumbo and the M4A 375 at the moment just happily firing at an 88 at max range. The M1 gun here is currently firing into the front of the Beuter Stalin. This is a really bad position for the Beuter Stalin. If the Jumbo moves forwards and start firing at that, the Beuter Stalin's got to decide which way it wants to face. And honestly, at the moment, one will face against the AT gun because the Jumbo's got less penetration. But oh no, this is really not good news. Although saying that, the Beuter Stalin actually just one-shot the Jumbo, and it also just bounced the M1 gun. Damn, what a hero. Beuter Stalin getting that Jumbo kill in there is vital for control over this bottom side. Is going to stop the 88 from being free hit. Although the M1 gun there still finding some nice hits. I think the way that Shaun's decided to reverse this is slightly side armor facing. So the M1 gun potential for a kill there, but not quite as it does get into light cover. On the bottom side also, the Jumbo has gone down and the M4A 176. The M4A 375 is still in a position, doing a lot of damage now to the 88, but the 88's only got to land one more shot, and that is a third tank down. I'm going to have to assume that the 88 is what helped kill off the Jumbo, because at that range, it might have had enough penetration to break it down. P47 coming in. I think the P47's there to distract the 88 from firing at the armor so that he can move forwards the M4A3 to engage the 88. It's really, really cheeky if that's the plan. Because you can do that. You can bring in like aircraft, and AA will always prioritize aircraft until the player like manually targets the ground forces again. So you can exploit that in order to get like the M4A3 here on target to help kill that, but obviously the Pak-40 is backing it up, so it would have been unlikely to succeed. T-34's coming in here to take out the M3 half-track. Armoured rifles there, very, very low health. But Pixy's still holding 16 to 8 and is actually pushed up a lot of engineers on this top side. T-34's trying to move in there to shut that down, but without any infantry of his own, it's going to be difficult to kill off those engineers quickly. I guess he can pin them down one by one and try and do it that way, but honestly, like the HE building up from all these engineers over time, like with the satchels landing underneath the T-34s, is going to be awkward. And there is now a Jumbo there to help back things up. So Shaun, to my surprise, has managed to find ways to deal with the Jumbos, but there are still more Jumbos available for Pixy, and we're in the latter phase of Phase B. Which means that Pixy is sitting on probably the most income he's going to have in the entire game. And he has timed his position very, very, very well. Like, to be in this position at the end of Phase B is exactly where you want to be as Maverick, because you can continue it for another 5 to 10 minutes in Phase C with the points you had left over from Phase B. And 2 more Jumbos on the way, certainly going to help things out. That's going to be 3 Jumbos on this bottom side. 1 on the top side there. 2 have gone down. That's probably all of his Jumbos actually, because you can get 2 in Phase A, I believe, and then 4 in Phase B. Oh, that's a dead IS-2. Shows side armor to an M1 gun. M1 gun takes the shot. Job done. These M1 guns are deadly. I think this M1 gun was the one that made it face. Actually, no, never mind. That's just the transport there. How far up did it die? Oh, it's there. Yeah, maybe that M1 gun did make it face this way. Especially if the Panzer gun spotted that, and the IS-2 would have turned its armor if this other one was hidden. So, yeah, either way. The Pak-43 trying to get revenge and kill that with its HE. 2-star veterancy does fire very quickly. Is going to kill off the M1 gun, but too late for that. Are going to see a unit of infantry there die very quickly before they unload. T-34 is going to try and pin down that engineer. As that's open, they managed to kill off another unit of infantry. Hans of Nixon's also helping out with their 3-star veterancy. Pixy now bringing in the off-map. That's going to be 155mm off-map. And the third, they can get a lot of off-map. So I would expect to see more of that. Very useful for this town engagement. Commandant, sorry, being moved up to give the 2-star veterancy to these T-34s. If Shaun times it right, he might be able to side-shot the jumbo if he sort of moves these, like one straight towards it, one either side. Might be able to find a side shot there by forcing it to face in numerous directions at once. M1 gun, oh, lovely snipe there onto the MG. Armoured rifles and the half-tracks still making it difficult for the Panzergrens, and Shaun is in a really, really tough position. This is 16-8, 4 minutes until Shaun loses the game. Pixie's now got another AT gun moving up to support this bottom side. Can transport snipe for days, and where he isn't transport sniping, he's using jumbos to engage the support weapons. Basically, Shaun's trying to use the 88 and the Pak 40 to cover his troops as they move up, kind of like you would with tanks. But jumbos can just bounce off the Flak 41 shots all day long at range, so no problem there at all. Shaun now opting for his own off-map. The off-map that came in for Pixy completely obliterated the troops that were left. There wasn't actually too much here, it looked like there was, but it was just an Ersatztruppen, Panzervernichtungs and a leader, I think. So the armoured LMG rifles cleaned those up afterwards. Now Shaun going to be bringing in his off-map, not particularly in a very good spot. There isn't really any concentration of forces from Pixy, except from on this bottom side. Like, this area would be great for an off-map. But getting an off-map vehicle close enough to pull down that strike would be pretty rough. Nice job by this jumbo, almost killed off the 88 down here. This 88 further up, only on 4 health. Jumbo's now pushing in aggressively against the T-34s. These Panzergrens have moved up, but the engineers throwing in grenades going to kill off the Panzergrens. Nice turret stuck there from the jumbo. But the turret stuck, I think, is forwards. When you turret stuck a tank forwards, it actually doesn't make too much of a difference normally. It just turns into a self-propelled gun. Jumbo didn't quite manage to finish off the 88 on the bottom side. Pak 40 though will probably be cleaned up now. And this 2-star M4A3 will be able to deal with the Panzergrens that are pushing across the open. So these jumbos just being ultimately very annoying. The jumbo was forced back and the turret stuck T-34 tried to move forwards to capitalise. But that's not going to last long enough, I think, for the T-34 to get on top of it. Unless this T-34 keeps it pinned down, in which case it might work. This engineer, can it get a second grenade off? I'm not sure it's going to have time. The Panzergrens getting their MG42s to fire away again is going to be enough. Nice surrender though from Shaun, does open up a bit more ground, but this bottom side, just holding this hill from the start, gave Pixy so much control over the flags on the right side of that hill. So in particular, this one further down has also been contesting this one for a lot of the game. Allows him to pick up this one easily and reinforce it in the tree lines, and then of course he's been holding the flag in the town. Strafing run already coming in onto the Pak 43. That was a lovely amount of damage from the P47. 4 damage there, and now the M3 half-tracks pushing up. They're going to be able to finish off the MG42 as they drive past it, and also going to probably be able to drive on top of the Pak 43. But the reason Pixie's pushing these up is to gain the other flag. So the AT gun there, that's going to get taken out by the jumbo on the ridge. Again, the jumbo's really being a pain. Pak 43 goes down, and Shaun's going to surrender. And, well, as I mentioned, I think it really came down to Shaun having a division that really suffers against the 3rd Armoured's jumbos. I would not want to be in his position, like with the 20th Panzer versus the 3rd Armoured. That's a really, really rough matchup. The only way that I could see you could make that work is if you maybe had like more Panzer IVs from the start, and then managed to get some clean kills onto M4s across the board. But he went very infantry heavy, as is the meta, and I think, like with the 20th, the infantry is not necessarily standout enough to play into that. So probably would have been better off playing it into the 3rd's play style, which is definitely focusing on more armoured support. But lovely job by Pixy to clean up all of the support weapons with those jumbos, and Shaun just struggling to deal with that in the early game. The Maverick really, really coming out to play. By the end of phase B, just had so much ground, and Pixy making sure that he stuck to his time limit on that Maverick deployment type. If it had gone later into the game, maybe we could have seen Shaun bring it back, but it really would have depended, in my opinion, on the Verflammens, if he had them in the deck at all. Because I think they're really, really important. The off-map's also important for those town engagements. We didn't see any mortars to help take down things like the M1 gun, sorry. So, yeah, the M1 gun's really, really scary to deal with as well, other than the jumbos, and you saw it take out the British Stalin eventually. And that's what they're there for. They're just kind of sit in cover, they hide very easily, and then they come out with massive damage. And it really does suck when you get caught out by it. Now, Shaun maybe pushed up the IST a little bit far forwards in the first place, but I think he was just trying to close range on the jumbo to get the kill, because he needed to be closer in order to get the penetration, or at least a decent enough amount of penetration to secure a kill. But the armoured rifles, yeah, they don't really trade very well. You can see they're just going 1-for-1 against those, that's tripping, but it was really like the M4A1s that were like supporting those pushes initially and really helping break through. The Bofors killing 2 of the Ju-87D5 super important. Taking out those cluster bombers and making sure you shut that down is vital to prevent your jumbos from just being constantly picked off by them. M1 gun getting lots of lovely snipes there, also killed the Panzer IV Führer. Engineers, 2-star engineers, great choice from Pixy. You don't really sacrifice much availability to bring in 2-star engineers, and made great use of those to like double up on his points there. So 2 Panzergrens for every engineer is just really nice. Well, this is the M4A375, which was also a good choice for 2-star veterancy. That one killed the 88 on the bottom side, finished that off. Jumbos again, killing 88s. Just able to bounce off the large projectiles from these weapons at long range, and then firing back with HE. So just puts Shaun in a really tough position. These Panzervernichtungen at 3-star veterancy, they did really well. Really, really well. IGs were decent in places. Pack 40s didn't really do too much though. This 45mm though, look at that. Lovely bunch of kills. Void Stalin did manage to pick up a jumbo. That's what you want it there for. But you'd need to get it close range, and he did manage to take out one with it, but it didn't last too long after that. This Pack 43, wow. That's a lovely kill list. That must have been the one up on the hill on the top side, keeping back a lot of Pixie's forces from hitting the town. But when it went Maverick deployment type in Phase B, with 180 points per minute, Pixie just brute forced his way into that top town. And there wasn't much that Shaun could do about it because he was too busy trying to firefight on the bottom side. So yeah, great play from Pixie. Just good tactical play in my opinion. Pushing on that bottom side, taking the high ground, really, really helped him out. Just secure that victory almost from the start of the game. Shaun struggling with the 20th Panzer against the 3rd Armoured, and commiserations is going to get knocked out of the tournament in the semi-finals. We'll be moving over to Nilla versus Frublord in the 2nd semi-final, and then it's going to be a best of 3 final. After that, whoever wins the Frublord versus Nilla against Pixie, of course, who won this game. But that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.